Hello, everyone. Here's your weather hazard briefing for Monday, May 22nd. We've got more showers and thunderstorms not only today, but all the way through the Memorial Day weekend. Even with today, with storms, we got some gusty winds. And even outside of that, with a bit of a front coming through, we do have some overall gusty winds across the region. Some of these storms will produce a bit of heavier rainfall and maybe a few of the strongest storms producing some small hail. One good thing about this system coming through today, especially with the wind, we should continue to see the air quality improve. It's going to try to push what smoke is still out there back towards the north and east away from us, at least temporarily. Like we said, showers and thunderstorms. We got a pretty stagnant pattern setting up over the western U.S., and this takes us all the way into Memorial Day weekend and Memorial Day itself. And unfortunately, this will be one of these years I don't think we'll have a clean holiday for those that want some nice warm weather and no precipitation across the region. Satellite shows that area of low pressure developing to our west, and that area of low pressure, pretty much what will happen is it basically splits into two or one more elongated area of low pressure versus one smaller compact low along the coastal region. That continues until the weekend. We'll see that low eventually try to weaken. Part of that swings up through our area over the Memorial Day weekend, and while part of it lingers back to the west, but keeps enough moisture in our area and instability going for those showers and thunderstorms to continue beyond the end of the week. And the weather risk outlook, it doesn't really change much over the next few days. We continue to concentrate our impacts with the flooding over the highland areas, especially the southeast highlands, with the massive amount of snowpack to go, and also up towards the Lost River area, the big Lost area as well. Quite a bit of snow in some of those areas still to melt out. Flooding continuing across the Wood River area all the way over the next several days through the rest of the week, and to a lesser extent up across the eastern highlands as well. We are highlighting the lower elevations like the Snake Plain and the Magic Valley and the South Hills for tomorrow. Pretty juicy atmosphere for tomorrow. That's going to give us potential of overall heavier precipitation across the area. And if we get enough storms moving over the same area, even across the lower elevations, we could see some localized flooding taking place. WPC has a marginal risk of heavy rainfall and flooding in that area, and also across the southeast highlands and the South Hills as well. That is for tomorrow, not necessarily for today. So how are things going to progress as we go through today? We do have showers and even a few embedded thunderstorms still lifting through the central mountains later on this morning, but a lingering band of lighter precipitation shifting to the east. It may not completely dissipate as it shifts eastward across the Snake Plain during the morning hours. Maybe a little bit of a light shower or virga along the boundary as well. But as we go later on into today, another round of showers and thunderstorms over the central mountains. That'll shift up into Montana, where there is a risk of severe weather today. And you'll see another band of showers and thunderstorms across the southeast highlands developing. That shifts on to the east. And we go into the overnight hours. We may be at least mostly free of a shower or a thunderstorm overnight, but you'll go into tomorrow. A little bit of light activity developing early in the morning over our western areas, but you go into the afternoon, a pretty good band of showers and thunderstorms across the central mountains initially, and then you see an area of showers and thunderstorms developing generally to our southwest. This is the area and timing of concern with some of the heavy rainfall across the area. This goes through tomorrow evening. That'll shift off to the north and to the east, and then some lingering showers across the southeast corner by the time we get to sunrise Wednesday here in eastern Idaho. So for today, temperatures will be cooler than we've seen over the past few days. 70s over the lower elevations, 60s once you get into the higher valleys, 50s up on the highest ridge tops and peaks for today at least. And with those showers and thunderstorms, the bulk of the precipitation will be over the southeast corner, where we might see some indications of over 1/10 of an inch, especially with some heavier activity developing. To a lesser extent over the central mountains, that at least is what will, when we start this period of measured precipitation at 6 a.m. For those winds, you'll see the gusts later on this afternoon, 25 to 35 miles an hour. maybe a few spots gusting 35 to 40 across the Arco Desert up towards Spencer and Dubois through the afternoon and evening hours. Also, some higher gusts this afternoon over the higher elevations of the Central Mountains, but those winds will quickly die down during the overnight hours and into tomorrow. Temperature-wise, we do back it off a few degrees, especially over the Central Mountains, maybe a couple of degrees across the Snake Plain, and I'd say 5 to 10 degrees over the southeast corner versus mid-70s, mid-60s down around Montpelier and Soda Springs for tomorrow. Low to mid-70s for Salmon and Chalice, mid-60s up around the Stanley area for tomorrow afternoon. For those rainfall amounts tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night, you can see maybe not much once you get up into the Frank Church tomorrow, maybe little to no precipitation depending how things progress during the day tomorrow. But once you get into the Snake Plain, we're talking about a tenth to a quarter, and along the bench areas and into the South Hills, the Southeast Highlands, the Eastern Highlands, we're talking a quarter to half an inch possible. And this doesn't necessarily account for very heavy showers and thunderstorms or the potential of several storms moving over the same area. This is kind of how the general rain pattern forecast would look like if we don't have that happen. Now, the chances, what are we going to say? What would happen if we get over a half an inch of rain? Where we might see that? What's the chance of that? Down across the South Hills and Southeast Highlands up in the big holes, that percentage runs about 20 to 30%, in a few spots 30 to 40% of maybe seeing over a half an inch for tomorrow afternoon. A little bit higher along the Bear River Range, that's right around 40 to 50%, just simply because of the higher terrain and the forcing there. Is it possible we might see an inch or more of rain? It's non-zero over some of the higher elevations of the Central Mountains, the Eastern Highlands, down across the Southeast Highlands, maybe a 10 to 20% chance up along the ridgetop there along the Bear River Range. But again, most areas, especially once we get into the South Hills and the Southeast Highlands, looking at a quarter to half an inch possible for tomorrow. Temperatures going into Wednesday. You'll notice Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, the temperatures don't change too much. This pattern, like I said, is going to stay in place, the southerly flow. Even with cloud cover and showers, we'll keep the temperatures on the warmer side. And honestly, every day, it's going to depend on the timing of showers and thunderstorms and clouds to see where these highs are actually going to fall. But this is the general idea through the end of the week. So look, still, all this rain and warm weather, the flooding potential is just not going away for most of our area. Antelope Creek near Darlington is currently at minor flood stage and should be staying there over the next few days. The trend for the Blackfoot above the Blackfoot Reservoir continues to be down, and that trend will continue downward. Even if we get a bump of precipitation, it will only be temporary, and the trend will continue downward. The Bear River at the Idaho-Wyoming border solidly in minor flood stage and will be there over the next several days. And now moving up into the Wood River area, where we're seeing a lot more of our rivers and streams and creeks moving into action and flood stage. This is obviously continuing at the East Fork there at Big Wood River at Gimlet. We may be pushing minor flood stage over the next couple of days, depending on precipitation amounts as we go through the period. The same with Trail Creek at the Ketchum gauge there as well. Looking at Warm Springs, we're actually pushing towards moderate flood stage with the latest peak. We'll have to see how that goes, but definitely flooding will continue along Warm Springs Creek there for the next few days. Looking at shifting down to the south from Pocatello southward, Marsh Creek at McCammon, we're running right at that low end of action stage. The Portneuf River at Tyhee, we're running in between action and minor, and we should see that trend continue over the next few days. And Topaz should stay just on the lower end of minor, maybe pushing back towards action stage by the time we get to Memorial Day weekend. Looking at some of our other gauges, and some of these gauges we have the ability to look at what we call an ensemble forecast, and what is that going to do for us. That kind of gives you an idea of where some of these rivers and streams might be headed if we look at multiple different types of multiple forecasts, that kind of thing, instead of just one forecast like you see with some of the other river gauges. Not all the river gauges have this information, so we'll show you what we have. The Big Wood River at Haley, staying solidly at moderate flood stage for the next few days. There is a very small chance, 10 to 15%, we push into major flood stage at this time, but most likely it's not a non-zero chance, obviously, going to major flood stage. But right now, we should stay solidly in that moderate flood stage over the next 10 days. The big river at Ketchum, we've actually pushed into minor flood this morning, so we'll have to see that trend, how that trend continues. This forecast that shows it going back down solidly into action stage, at least temporarily, may be too low. We'll have to keep an eye on that over the next few hours and see if this bump above into minor flood stage is actually something that's just a temporary blip or something that's going to stick around for a little bit longer. The Big Lost River at Howell, we're into action stage. There's a 95% chance we will go to minor flood, and that looks like that does happen. And we stay kind of at that cusp of minor to action stage over the next several days with the snow melting and precipitation in that region. Going back down to the Portneuf at the Pocatello gauge, you can see the trend will be going downward. We're going to stay in moderate flood stage over the next few days. Then Memorial Day weekend, we should start trending back down into minor flood stage. We might get a bump of precipitation later this week. We'll just have to see how that goes. But the overall trend and the ensembles and the forecast itself is going down along the Portneuf. The Henry's Fork up at Rexburg, there is a likely chance we're going to minor flood stage by Memorial Day weekend, if not earlier in the week, with the river water coming into the area and any precipitation that falls. And the Teton River at St. Anthony, there's a 75% chance we go to action stage later on this week into the holiday weekend. The current forecast keeps it just below that cusp through the next 10 days. There's even a 30 to 35% chance things come together, we may go to minor flood stage at some point over the next 10 days. So certainly we have to continue to watch the flooding situation across the area, as things are definitely not over in that regard. So once again, showers and thunderstorms today, even outside of the gusty winds with storms, we do have a kind of a front moving through, so some gusty winds across the area. Storms today, locally heavy rainfall possible, maybe some small hail. We just got showers and thunderstorms going through the holiday weekend, and we'll just be taking that day by day to see where that precipitation and those chances will occur. Have a great Monday, and do stay safe out there, everyone.